Have you ever wondered why your education was so bad? Why the history you were taught was wrong? Why so many doctors don't view food as medicine? Well, in the early 1900s, John D. Rockefeller decided he wanted to take over the education system. So he started the General Education Board, and he and his family would put $180 million into the project in the early 1900s. So him and his team started studying the history of education. They wanted to find a system that would achieve his goal, a system that would produce a nation of employees who would never question him. And that's when he heard about the Prussian education system. It goes back to the Napoleonic Wars in 1806. Napoleon had just wiped the floor with Prussia. In fact, it got so bad that Prussian troops disobeyed orders and ran away. And the King of Prussia wanted to make sure that this would never happen again. So he brings in the top social engineers in Prussia, specifically this guy. And he tasked them with creating a system that made people obedient to authority. And the modern education system is what they came up with. A state standardized curriculum, state approved and trained teachers, compulsory attendance, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 45-minute blocks, bells, and raising your hand to go to the bathroom. And that's the system this guy came up with. The system that Rockefeller poured $180 million into. And all it took was an offer of $10,000 grants. The school districts got $10,000 and all they had to do was implement the Rockefeller curriculum. But that was only the beginning. In 1908, the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Endowment partnered with the American Medical Association. The foundations funded the Flexner Report, which basically argued that homeopathy, naturopathy had no basis in science, while the Rockefeller Foundation would bring the Flexner Report in front of state licensing boards. And as a result, guess who these boards put in charge of college accreditation status for medical schools? The American Medical Association. Within 20 years, half the medical schools in the United States of America had been closed down. Naturopathy and homeopathy were essentially gone, replaced with pill-based medicine. Well, in the 1950s, Congress did an investigation into these tax-exempt foundations, the Reese Committee, to see if they had been supporting communism. But what they found was far more sinister, because according to Norman Dodd, who was an investigator on the committee, the Rockefeller Foundation and Carnegie Endowment decided they were going to fundamentally alter Americans' understanding of history. They tried to bribe the leading historians of the day, but were rebuffed. So they instead handpicked 20 college students who they gave $400,000 in college grants. And 10 years later, these students made up the governing board of the American Historical Association. And what did they do historically? Establish national history curriculum and the standards for both high school and college. And this is the core reason of why so many people have to wake up later in life. And it's why I started a homeschool company, turn many of these videos into courses, and publish books on how information is controlled, the history of fake news, how the banking system was corrupted, healthy eating, how the food system was corrupted, and so much more. ClassicalLearner.com